intro you're going to hear.
Okay.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studios in Atlanta, it's time for On the Money, presented by Embassy National Bank. Now, here's your host, Joe Moss.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of On the Money. We are the #1 small business podcast on Business RadioX. The show is sponsored by Embassy National Bank. We, as you all know, we discuss topics that are helpful to small business owners to help them succeed in this tough world that we're in, because we all know that Embassy likes to help small business. My name is Joe Moss. I'm the moderator and president over at the bank. And we are coming today live from the Gwinnett Center in Duluth. So we are on site today, and the Gwinnett Center is hosting a small business summit here today. And so Business RadioX was a participant. We've got I've been trying to get this show put together for about 3 months. And I think we're finally here because I wanted to talk about it. We have Mr. Doug Nicely, who is the EVP of Studio Operations over at Eagle Rock Studios here in Atlanta. And he's a big, they're making a big entree into the film industry here in Georgia. So, Doug, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're going to talk about the film industry and how that can impact small business. And I'd like to talk about what it's like. I'd like to talk about what you do.
Okay.
I think everybody wants to be behind the scenes a little bit from time to time, so hopefully we'll do all of that.
It's a lot more blue collar than people think it is.
I believe you. I believe you because I know someone who's in the business as a sound type thing, and yeah, that's what he says. Yeah. You got to put up with a lot of egos from time to time.
Yes.
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 Well, Doug, tell me about Eagle Rock Studios. Let's start there.
Well, we're the largest production facility under one roof in America, probably the world. We're 465,000 square feet is the building. We have 120,000 square feet of stage spaces. That's 30,000 square foot stages. Then we have flex space that is set up for warehousing and shops. We have 30,000 square feet of office space. And then we have something very unique, and it's really for Georgia in its breezeways. So companies can park their base camps, which is all your star trailers,
right?
Wardrobe, hair and makeup, inside, out of the weather. And nowhere else has that.
But the first sentence that you had, you kind of said that unboastfully, but why don't you repeat that so everybody hears that? Here in Gwinnett County,
you have the largest production facility under one roof, everything under one roof in probably the world, definitely the United States.
And it's right down there off of Jimmy Carter Boulevard.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. How did you get associated with Eagle Rock?
About 3 years ago, I was working with the man that helped design this for ABC Disney, we were doing 2 shows. We were doing Devious Maids for Lifetime that's actually just started its 4th season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were doing another show called Resurrection. The first season for both shows, we were at Screen Gems. And Hunger Games came to Atlanta, took over the stages.
Right, all of them pretty much.
All of them, the whole lot. And so we had to find a place for the second season. I called John Rollet, who's a commercial realtor that kind of specializes in the movie industry.
Right, and he's got his own studio.
Yeah, he has Mailing Avenue, and then he just opened up Boat Rock, which is a second stage out off of Fulton Industrial. But called him up, said, John, I need 70,000 square feet of stage space. I need office space where I need it. And he said, I have a building. It's not on the market yet. Let me check on it. We went out and looked at it. It's in Stone Mountain. It's the original Eagle Rock.
Mm-hmm.
They were set to move out at the first of the year into their new headquarters. They'd bought what was the Kraft Southeastern Distribution Center and built a new headquarters building, and then they have a 300,000 square foot cooler there for their Eagle Rock's the
they've got one of the beer distributors.
Yeah, Anheuser-Busch.
Right.
And
they've been around forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we moved into Stone Mountain, their old facility, changed it into stages.
Mm-hmm.
They liked working with movie studios. They're very good clients, very good tenants.
Now, did the studio have to do? Who did all the leasehold improvement associated with all that?
For Stone Mountain, ABC Disney did.
Okay.
They took the building as is, and then they put in a demising wall to what they had was a 78,000 square foot beer cooler. And we needed to divide it into 2 stages so that you could be working on one while you were shooting on the other.
Right.
So we did that. We took out the commercial refrigeration and put in HVAC. It needed to be quiet. And then we also put in power. And Georgia Power was very instrumental with that, but movies use a lot of power.
They move, and they have to be quiet.
It has to be very quiet.
And they use power, plus the lighting is huge. I would think the wiring is huge.
Yeah, what we did at Stone Mountain is we went with LEDs, and that saves in multiple aspects. They put off like 1/10 of the heat that an incandescent, a tungsten bulb does. So you have less heat. They use 1/6 of the power. They cost more.
They do cost more,
but
yeah.
they're 1/6 of the power. But then we had to do the whole package. We knew that because we were doing the improvements, we were doing them within the budget of a show. So what we had to do is say, okay, we want to put shore power. We want to put in hard power. If we don't do that, we're going to have to run generators.
Okay.
So what are the generators going to cost? What's the fuel for the generators going to cost? What's all the extra cable going to cost? The Jenny operator.
Because you got all the issues that a data center would have, UPS, all that stuff, don't you?
And then with so we looked at that and what that would cost. And then even though it's a cooler, you have to keep it cool. So what is portable HVAC going to cost? And so we came up with those numbers, and then we went out and found contractors and said, okay, here's how much money we have. What can you give us? Mm-hmm. And we found what we needed to find and put them in and built that into the stage.
But so how much did they spend how much did ABC spend on the Stone Mountain stage?
Initially, almost $1 million.
Million?
Yeah.
And then ultimately, what do they have in it out there?
Well, they keep on making improvements.
Right.
But they have a very favorable lease because basically they leased a warehouse instead of a studio space.
Sure.
So they're probably close to $1.5 million, $2 million in improvements. They built a greenhouse just for their plants because the show Devious Maids is set in Beverly Hills, so they need a lot of palm trees and tropicals and stuff. So they built a big greenhouse. They just did other improvements that were really conducive for them. Mm-hmm. So they're all in. I'm not sure. I'm not privy to that anymore since I'm working for Eagle Rock now, but I would guess $1.5 million, $2 million.
So what kind of an investment did Eagle Rock have to make in their new studio?
A little bit over $15 million.
$15 million, and that doesn't include the real estate.
No, they own the building.
Yeah.
They own the building, and so that was just what we did. Is it was craft, so it was a giant dry warehouse,
right?
465,000 square feet, and then the office space was still decorated like it was for craft,
right?
So it was the 80s with the high cubicles.
Oh, and that won't work for Hollywood.
Well, it was just dated,
right?
I mean, it was the biggest thing is it was dark,
right?
Because I think the building originally was GE. And then when Kraft moved in, they built the offices. And it appears that when they built the offices, they had to build a fireproof box. Mm-hmm. So they had skylights but no windows because you had dock doors. There's, on the whole property, 100 and some docks, loading docks, because you had 500 trucks a day coming in and out to load macaroni and cheese and whatever. So when they built the offices, those dock doors went up, so they didn't put windows in.
Okay.
When we went in to do the remodel, one of the things we had to do was put windows in and figure out how to put windows in for the offices because movie people, the shooting day is 12 hours. So with lunch in there, it's closer to 13.
And then they still have all the work to do afterwards.
There's production. There's different departments, but there's production office and accounting and set dressing, the art department. They're usually a little bit more regular hours. I mean, our day is at Eagle Rock. Right now, we have 2 shows. We have Sony and we have Lionsgate. And so we have someone there 5:30 in the morning because construction comes in, and they're a little bit more normal hours. Mm-hmm. And then, like today, both shows are shooting on stage. So one had a call where they started at 9 o'clock, and the other one was at 9:30.
And it's all self-contained there.
It's all everything's.
So the actors just show up there and do whatever they need to do, and I guess that's helpful to the hotel next door, and because I know they just remodeled that brewery right across the street.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're. What we did is when we opened up, we talked with Lisa Anders, who's the camera ready person for Gwinnett County, and we did a list of all the housing, all the vendors, all the restaurants that would cater lunch and put that together so that every day they have a catering truck that feeds the shooting crew. Mm-hmm. But the office staff, their lunch is catered in.
Okay.
So, and they have a list, and they'll go up and Papados one day and Mojitos in Norcross another day, and just different area businesses that will come and bring their lunch in.
Right. Let's talk about everybody likes to talk about the Georgia tax credit that has made all this happen. And from what I understand, if you spend money here in Georgia and you use Georgia resources, now the kind of loophole in there is you can bring payroll room from out of state, but just about everything has to be spent, either used or spent here in Georgia. You get up to a 30% tax credit for those expenses that you can then sell to someone else who has made income in Georgia, and then they use that to offset their income.
Yeah, because what happened is there's only a few studios that make, there's Disney, but Disney has ABC, they have Disney, they have multiple production entities. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers is the same way. So they'll do multiple projects each year, so they get a tax credit for each show. Mm-hmm. But they can only use so many of them. So Georgia's are sellable. So they will sell them for, I don't know what the going rate is right now, 75, 80 cents on the dollar.
That's what it sounds like. But there's it's kind of like environmental credits too. I mean, when you fix up a stream and you get to sell some credits, it's only as good as the people that make enough income to use those credits. Mm-hmm. And then I understand that they're able to parcel them down so an individual could go buy some if they wanted to.
Yes.
All right, so people have said, are kind of giving away Georgia for all this to happen, but you were sure before the show you mentioned that you think that the tax credit number this year will be $300 million or thereabouts.
Or more. I mean, the spend, Lee Thomas from the film office spoke to the Gwinnett County Chamber.
Right.
And I think she said the spend this year in Georgia was like $1.7 billion.
So 1.7 billion gets spent here that arguably would not have been spent somewhere else. They get a 30% if they put the trailer on the back end. They get a 30% credit on the back. They sell that to someone who's already earned that income here in Georgia. And if you're an economist or if you understand the accelerator effect of spending that kind of money, that probably has generated another 15 to 20 billion in spending here in Georgia, which is taxable at 15, 20%. So I think the argument kind of falls on deaf ears. That it's a big win for Georgia.
Well, it is, because if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be getting anything.
Correct.
You're getting 70% of something instead of 100% of nothing.
Right. And the Eagle Rock Studios, they did not get any benefit for spending the money that they've spent.
No, there's no rebate. The rebate doesn't count for building infrastructure.
Right. And I know in that particular location, they've upgraded their warehouse, spent $15 million on basically was a cheese place. Drury Hotels right across the street is upgraded into a Hampton. That alone was a $5 million investment just on that one hotel. And I'm sure that's happening all over Gwinnett. So it's a big win to get all this money here.
Well, it's huge because what you want is, if you look at L.A., the studios are kind of spread out through different parts of Los Angeles.
Correct. Like the
And-
CBS studios in Studio City.
Yes. So
And
what's
it's
happening?
a tiny place. It's tiny. I was surprised how tiny it was.
Well,
Comparatively. Yeah.
comparative.
Right.
Yeah. It's. But here in Gwinnett County, so you have us. I mean, we're up and you're running. OFS is leasing space out now. Movies go there because they
OBS
need
is
space.
they are the fiber making company right next door to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they're leasing space out to movie. It's basically warehouse space. There's talk, there's plans to develop it into more, but right now it's just warehouse space that people are using to shoot.
Okay.
So one of the shows that we have, we didn't have enough space for them, so they go to OFS and use it there. So it's centralized. So now you're seeing down the road from us is we have Cinelease in our building, which is all the grip electric. But then down the road you have Pascal, which is another lighting company.
Mm-hmm.
You have VER, which are cameras. So across 85, there's another camera rental house. So you're seeing more businesses move into Gwinnett County to service because you don't want to have to run all the way to the airport to pick up lights or pick up a camera.
And by the way, everybody, you're listening to Doug Nicely, who is the EVP over at the Eagle Rock Sound Studio, which is the large sound studio, 500,000 square foot sound studio located right here in Gwinnett County. And we're just talking to him about the business, about Eagle Rock. And so let's continue that. You mentioned before the show that there is some concern that the tax credit could just shut down.
Well, there's no concern. It's stable now. Georgia's the most stable tax credit that's out there.
And if we're comparing to North Carolina or Louisiana, it's the most reasonable too. It
Well,
sounds like.
Yeah. Well, North Carolina doesn't have. They have. They just funded it. I think there's $25 million in a discretionary fund, but they had a 25% rebate, and they decided that they didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
That they had shows here. That Sleepy Hollow was there for Fox, that is now shooting in Conyers, but.
Mm-hmm.
The politicians looked and thought, okay, well, the industry's here, so let's do away with it. The day they did away with it, everything left.
Poof.
It just goes. So, like I said, Sleepy Hollow spent millions of dollars to move from Wilmington, North Carolina to Conyers, Georgia. They moved in Louisiana. They didn't have a cap on their spend. So they decided to put a cap on it. They looked at last year and they paid out like $180 million. So they were going to cap it at $225 million to allow for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Last minute deal on the vote, they decided to go ahead and cap it at $180 million. That was on a Friday. There was a panic on Monday. Shows were leaving because nobody knew what was going on. You got to have stability. Georgia's stable. And the best thing that Georgia could do is just let the studios know that not only is it stable now, but it's going to be stable for the next 10 years.
Sure. And I think it's going to be a lot like the Hope Scholarship. It's going to get people are going to be, like, for example, the folks at Eagle Rock, they came out of pocket and spent a lot of money. There's a lot of infrastructure being built to support that industry that was not tax advantaged. That's money that came out of somebody's pocket. And those are voters. And they're going to want to see this thing continue. So the more money that's spent, the more voters get involved and realize it needs to stay here.
Well, it does, because I was in North Carolina for 25 years, and I got tired of the politicalization of the incentive. It was up and down and up and down. I was on the road. I got tired of being on the road, so I talked to a friend. He's like, come to Georgia. So I came to Georgia. I had a job, but I came to Georgia, and then I've been here 5 years.
Right.
I wouldn't be here without the film incentive.
By the way, I want to shout out to Steve Economos and his family for doing what they've done, and also thank them for all the contributions they've made to the community here in Gwinnett. but also I'm a member of the Greek Orthodox Church, and I want to thank them publicly for all that they've done down there at for the whole Greek community here in town. So, Steve, if you're listening, I'm sure you'll hear a tape of this. Thanks to you and your family. But Doug, let's talk about. I mean, I wanted to have Steve here, and they said, well, I can send Doug, and then I saw your resume, and I went, I'm going to enjoy talking to Doug. If you go to IDMB, which I guess is the website that lists everybody's stuff, your filmography is very impressive.
Thank you.
So you're labeled pretty much as a location manager.
Yes.
What does that mean?
You do all the logistics for filming. Okay, so the first thing is when a show's deciding where to go, they will hire scouts. Like right now, the way it works is the studios come up, they decide to do a project. The accountants at the studios say, okay, you can make this in Georgia, New York, pretty much Georgia. Then they call up a location manager, and they send you the script. And you go through that script for all the locations, houses, businesses, roads, lakes, whatever is called for. And you send pictures. Now you post them on the internet, but you send them pictures so they look and they can make sure that what they want for their script is here.
Okay.
Then when they come, you narrow it down to the actual locations. Then you do the deals to use those locations. You work with the various government entities to be able to permit for parking, street closure, fire, just anything that's needed. And then you clean up afterwards.
Now are you involved during the shoot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're managing the whole thing as
Yes.
it goes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're on the other side of the fence now.
Yes, and I love it.
With Eagle Rock. But Eagle Rock could become its own studio, I guess, if the owners were so inclined.
They could, but the industry, Georgia is probably always going to be number 3. And
Okay.
that's a good place to be.
Right.
I mean, the industry is centered. It's been there since it moved from New Jersey, but for 80 years, it's in Los Angeles. That's where all the studios are.
Right.
So unless you're going to get Sony and Warner Brothers and Fox and all them to uproot and move to Atlanta, the industry is always going to be based in Hollywood.
And there's no incentive on the table for people like that to come to
No.
Atlanta, is there?
No.
They are too entrenched, aren't they?
It's just it's 80
what it
years
is.
in. Yes, it just is what it is, and it's not going to change.
But those folks they look to shoot in a place.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the business has become a lot more. Business is incredibly global, but certainly. But Georgia has a lot of good outside shot places, right? I don't know if that's the right terminology.
No,
but
it's go. I mean, the thing that Georgia has going for it that other states don't have is in Atlanta you have a beautiful metropolitan city with the busiest airport in the world. So it's
that's key.
very easy to get in and out of Atlanta. Then within an hour or so you got mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not that far to the coast. You want the Atlantic coast, you want the Gulf Coast. You got you've got a lot of looks in Georgia from the oceans to the sea. So you've got shows that are filming in Savannah right now. And then a lot in Atlanta, but it's the Atlanta metro area.
Right.
I mean, they're in Kennesaw, they're in Norcross, they're in Stone Mountain, they're down in McDonough.
Plus, we're nice people, right?
It is nice to shoot here.
Right.
I mean, it really is,
Right.
and that makes a difference.
Well, the weather, climate, kind of an all, only have a couple of months where it's unbearably hot.
And a little bit of snow.
And a little bit of snow, but yeah, and I guess I'm comparing it to Los Angeles, so I better shut my mouth, right?
But at Eagle Rock, you don't have to worry about that because we're under one
We're all
roof.
inside. And I guess that's the other thing. How much of the shoot is actually inside?
Well, right now we have both shows that we have are TV. Well, one's a PlayStation series, so you have to have a PlayStation 4 to see it because everybody wants to be the computer in the living room, to stream your media.
Okay, right.
The other one is going to air on the Oprah Winfrey Network. So one show's a 7-day episode. So every 7 days they do a new episode. Out of that, they spend 3 or 4 days on location, and then the remainder on stage. The other one's a 4-4 split, where they're 4 days in and then 4 days out.
Going back to your resume, one of my favorite films that I thought was very tough for a location was Andersonville.
I did the reshoots on that.
Okay.
And what happened on that was they shot here in Georgia.
Yeah.
They built the fort. They shot here in Georgia. When they were cutting the negatives, okay, it was shot on film, so they edit. And then they send the negatives out to be cut to make the final print.
Mm-hmm.
Production assistant didn't want to do air bills for those short rolls. So you had short rolls are smaller rolls of film.
Right.
So they duct tape them to the larger rolls. Okay.
This doesn't sound like it's going very well.
It doesn't end well. So they shipped them to be cut and printed, and those 4 rolls got lost in transit.
Wow.
So there was a big insurance claim, and they had to reshoot 3 days.
Wow. At
the time, John Frankenheimer directed that, and he was doing another movie in North Carolina that was called Silo 3 Jane. It never got made, but he was scouting that. So it's like, well, I'm here, so let's do the reshoot in North Carolina. So I got hired for that, and that was the most unique locations job I've ever had, because every morning I would get up and drive the roads looking for trees, find guys that were cutting lumber.
Right.
And I was competing with the mills for like poles.
Wow.
So every morning I'd drive around and I'd say, what do you have? Okay, I need, I'll pay $5 a ton more than whatever just to get the trees in to build the fort. And then we had to put in the road and everything. And then it was 100 and some degrees when we were there, and you had 1,000 extras in wool uniforms.
You had to make it dusty and...
It was dusty on its own.
Right.
But it was for 3 days. And
well, you heard it first. I don't know, you probably told this before, but interesting that Andersonville was actually filmed in North Carolina.
Well, most of it was filmed here.
Okay.
I mean, most of it was filmed in Atlanta, and it was just when they did the reshoots.
But they didn't go down to Andersonville, in South Georgia, to do it. Okay.
No, I'm not. They did it somewhere here in the Atlanta area.
Sure,
I'm not sure where.
Sure. Oh, that's interesting. And what of this filmography? What sticks out as, I don't know, your favorite, most interesting?
I think that the most fun I had was Kiss the Girls.
Okay.
Because I did second unit, so that's.
I read the book.
Well, and the movie was fun, and it was very different than the book.
Right.
But second unit's
fun. The
book
was sick.
The movie was. It just couldn't be as sick as the book.
Okay.
It was very sick. But on that, it was. When I went in, I did the second unit, which is all stunts and action.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, the whole. They went to it was in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area. They wanted to shoot at UNC, Chapel Hill, and Duke. The public outcry again that people read the book, they didn't see the movie, so it was a show where you had nothing to lose. Everybody already hated you. There was no win on it. So I came in to do second unit, and where you're blowing stuff up and the car chases and all that, and it was the one time in my career that I didn't have to worry about keeping everybody happy.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun.
How's your budget on stuff like that? Are you limited to the number of cars you can blow up and wreck?
Yeah, that's not a location budget, but yeah, it's all budgeted. They plan it all out.
Well, I think it's a City Card commercial where the director is looking out over a frigate.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's a pirate movie, and the frigate gets blown up, and the director's reaction was, no, bigger. So someone had to go get a brand new frigate, I guess, and make it bigger.
20 years, I mean, now visual effects are amazing, CGI.
Right.
And so a lot of that stuff that you see now it's all done with computer. When there's nothing there when you look at it. My son actually is in visual effects, and it's no fun to watch movies with him because he's like, that's a fake explosion. Where back in the day, the old, like the original Terminator movies and stuff, anything you saw was actually somebody doing it. I mean, they were really blowing something up. They were really wrecking that car. It was a lot of fun.
Right. Well, you're listening to Doug Nicely. He's with Eagle Rock Studios right here in Gwinnett, which is the largest film sound studio in the country, right here in Gwinnett. And really interesting conversation about the business and the industry and the huge impact that it's had here in Georgia. Doug, what are some of the other shows that you're talking to there at Eagle Rock? It doesn't sound like you used all your space.
Well, we have a stage left, but one of the shows is moving in there.
Okay.
We're really full. I mean,
really already.
Yeah.
Were you like full from the get-go?
Well, what happened was we had a show come. We got our CO in March
of 14.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
No, March of 15.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, this is. I mean, a year ago we were just starting to build the walls.
Okay.
So we got our CO this last March. We had some shows looking. One of the shows said that they wanted the whole space, the entire building. So we did a deal with them, and then they pushed, which means that the show didn't get made right away. But what happened was that was right at the time when movies are kind of in cycles. So when other shows that were here were looking, we were telling people, well, Lionsgate has a hold on the whole building. Mm-hmm. If you want to wait 30 days, you can, but they just went out and found other places. Then the first movie we had in was Gary Marshall's Mother's Day.
Okay.
Gary Marshall, Pretty Woman, but he did Laverne and Shirley. He's been around forever. He's 81 years old, and
wow.
He's amazing. So they were the first show that came in, and that was a lot of fun. Then they left. Sony came in with Powers, which is the PlayStation series, and then we have the Lionsgate there now.
Are there some directors that when you hear them coming in, you go, oh, no, and others you go, oh, this will be fun? Does the director kind of dictate the personality of the crew?
Yes.
Okay.
And I personally, when I heard it was Gary Marshall,
yeah,
I really wanted that show to come to Eagle Rock because I wanted to see him work. He's a legend. He's amazing.
Right.
You don't really, they're egos. And it depends. The director's a lot more important in films than in TV.
That makes sense. A lot of sense.
In TV, because they're doing multiple episodes, it's really the writer, the showrunner.
Sure. I don't know how they do it, but
there's a person that Kevin Williamson. Okay, mm-hmm. He did Dawson's Creek. He did he does the show. He comes up with the idea. He writes it, and that's for TV. Then the directors are basically just hired guns.
Because he's kind of the director, isn't he?
He's got the final say.
Yeah. Okay. Some of these comedy guys, I don't see how they do it.
Well, they have a staff.
I know, but still, it's got to be hard.
Seinfeld was a genius.
I know. He wrote it himself, right?
Well, there was a staff, but he and Larry David, and they were just amazing.
Yeah. So as we go forward, a couple of things we probably ought to hit on again is I think it's important for citizens of Georgia to realize the huge economic impact that the industry is having. I think a lot of people downtown who are feeding and housing and all these things have seen it and they felt it. So it's real important that we continue the tax credit.
It is, and it's also creating jobs.
Huge.
And the average salary for a crew person in the film industry is about $75,000 a year.
Now, is all this union?
Most of it is, yeah.
And
Georgia's still a right-to-work state, but the studios are signatory.
Well, I heard though that a lot of folks they bring in from other places. Is that still true?
No,
Okay.
there's a very good. The governor started the film academy to where they're training people. So there still is a shortage of labor in Georgia, especially for trained positions. So they're starting the film academy where people can go and learn how to be a grip or how to be an electric or the basics, so that they can get a job and work.
Okay.
It was at one point probably 60-40 for 60% of the people were brought in, 40% from Georgia on features. And if you go down to Pinewood on Marvel, they're doing I forget which one it is now, but the Guardians of the Galaxy is starting up. So those are such big movies, and they're very specialized in their needs, so they're bringing a lot of people in. But if you go over to our studio and walk through, probably 90%, if not more, of the people
are Georgia people.
And they may have moved here, like me. I mean, I see people all the time. Before I left here, I was walking down one of the breezeways, and craft services, you have catering, and then craft services, all the drinks and snacks and stuff. The movie crews are fed continually. I'm walking down the breezeway, I look over, I see this face, and we stop, and I'm like, where do I know you from? And then it's like, okay, well, 20 years ago we worked together in Wilmington.
Wow, okay.
But she lives here now, I live here now.
Right. So if you're a small business owner, and let's say you run hotel, you run a restaurant, whatever, what's the best way to plug into some of these people to let them know that you're available to provide services to them?
Well, we have, like I said, we have the vendor list that we do for Gwinnett County.
Right.
Each show also finds their own vendors and those kind of travel with the show. But it's really just call us, tell us what you have, because it's more than just it's dry cleaning. It's copiers, it's paper, all your office supplies. It's lumber, it's paint. It's amazing how much movies and TV shows use.
I think we can appreciate some of that, but probably not the complete magnitude of it. And you're shaking your head like, no, you cannot.
No, you can't. I mean, and until you see it, you can't imagine.
Well, if you can imagine a living room, say, on one of these shows that we watch every week, I mean, that's got to be built.
Yes.
I'm a big NCIS fan. I mean, that's got to go inside. It's got to go outside. You got to have a lab. You got to have a morgue. You got to have all these things. They all got to look right.
Well, and then they go into a location. They go pick somebody's house, or they go and pick somebody's business. But chances are that when they do that, they're going to paint, they're going to wallpaper, they're going to bring in new furniture. It's every day. They're doing major makeovers to multiple places. And then you got 40 shows in Atlanta right now.
What are the top shows in Atlanta?
Well, it's in Sonoy, but Walking Dead's probably the biggest one.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's huge. But I actually don't know them all. There's Vampire Diaries and the originals. Those are both Julie Plex shows, and those are actually out in, they're in DeKalb County. And she's also got another one called Containment that's in Midtown. There's Devious Maids is just starting back up on its fourth season, and there's a lot that I know the names, but I don't really watch the
it's
shows.
Amazing. I wish NCIS would come shoot here, but they're on that CBS lot up there in Studio City, I guess, right?
I think, well, there's different shows, but I think some of them too are at Manhattan Beach Studios. And
Okay. But anyway, my son-in-law's out there, and we go out there a lot so I can see my daughter and my granddaughter. So we've gotten a little familiar with Studio City and all that's out there.
Yeah, well, there's how many different there's multiple shows, aren't there? NCIS?
A bunch of NCISs, yeah. So they're all over the place. Well, Doug, it's been really great.
Thank you.
Having you on. If you're a small business owner, I don't know what you learned other than what you need to do is plug into Eagle Rock and get on their vendor list is what I heard. Doesn't
Yes.
matter what you do,
No, it really doesn't matter what you do.
because they're going to need it at some point.
I mean, just a while back, somebody needed special steel. Okay, and so told him to go. There's a place up off of Peachtree Industrial called Ryerson or something like that. You might want to talk to them. Went up there, and they had it. And who would have known that?
And how big a check did they write?
I don't have any.
It was
idea.
a pretty nice check, I would
It
think.
was, but
Yeah.
it was just, here's a business that
Yeah.
you'd never think was linked to it, but they needed 8-inch bar stock. This massive bar stock to make something out of.
Wow.
And so they went up to Ryerson, and it was right there in Gwinnett County.
Wow. All right. Well, Doug, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Steve, we missed you, but we've had fun anyway, and we'll catch you next time. And you've been listening to On the Money, brought to you by Embassy National Bank. Today was Doug Nicely from Eagle Rock Studios. We are actually broadcasting live from the Small Business Summit here at Gwinnett Center that was hosted by the Gwinnett Chamber. Embassy, On the Money, brought to you by Embassy National Bank. You can get us on Twitter at on_the_money, and then the number 1, or you can go out to our website and see it and hear it on themoney.businessradiox.com. We're also out on iTunes, and we're now new on YouTube at Business Radio X-Gwinnett Studio channel. So I'm Joe Moss, and I'm glad I did it. Doug, thank you again, and we'll see everybody next time. And be careful out there, but also leave fear in the back seat. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. Thank you.